Hello, Jazz Mid-State and All-State, I believe, trombone trier-outers. This is Dr. Jeff Phillips from Belmont. I think that's backwards in your viewing, but long story. Anyway, I am here to take you through the jazz excerpts. Not necessarily to play through everything, although I might, depending on my mood. But just to give you some tips on things that might be slightly difficult or are frequently missed in the playing of these excerpts. So first one, and these are for grades 9 through 12, because you all do the same thing. So this is the Samba of the Sun. So Samba of the Sun. First of all, I hope you've looked at the two key centers that are in this, with A flat and then a little section there with G and then back to A flat. So I hope you've kind of zeroed in on those, played through those scales, kind of get that to make sense to you. And then also, you look at the style. It says fast Latin. And we don't have a metronome mark up there, and that's by design, I believe. But it also has a cut time thing. So people have already asked me, how fast do you think this needs to go? I think it depends on the player. You want to play it fast enough that it's comfortable. For me, looking at this and going through it just a second ago, I think you want to do it, if you do it fast enough that these little flips with the triplets can be played as natural slurs, I think that's your key. Use that as your gauge and kind of where you need to go with it. So, I'll shut up and let's play some. The first little thing that we have, I mentioned the triplet flips. So we've got G to A flat. So if you can get this where it's if you can get that as a natural slur, so let me do that slowly. Then you have to legato tongue the F flat. So that's kind of where I would want my tempo to go, although I don't suggest that you start out there. So some things that you can do to make that a little easier are just some of your basic lip slur patterns as you go up higher, like starting on B flat and going. I'm trying to get a good clean arpeggio there. And then maybe taking that out to, or starting on B flat again. And then just going up to the next partials, but go out to B natural. And then go back out to fourth. And work those as lip slurs. And all of those exercises and things like that will get you the flexibility that you need to be able to play that type of passage. Okay, so let me go back and do that very slowly again. So there's kind of where the tempo I think needs to eventually get. It's wherever I can do that. With that natural slur. Otherwise, you're going to have to do some sort of articulation on it, probably. And if you triple tongue, you can get kind of choppy, I think. So, anyway, so on to the next line, similar. You have to articulate the C. So same thing on that little flip. first note is in those figures that you would smear. That's where you punch the articulation there. Okay. All right. So the latter part of that line, where I kind of boogered some things up, I'll go through that slowly for pitch, so you can get the E flat and the G adjusted, and you can hear these top three notes. So there's, well, I don't know what that B flat sounds like. Well, it's part of that top arpeggio, okay? So you're there, and you're going to go up to B a half step. So you'll be able to hear that, and then you come down, still in second position, to the next note, to the A, and then the A flat down a half step. So I'll play through those notes slowly so that you can develop the control up there. Now the good news is that's all under crescendo. Yeah, that whole line is. So you'll have the momentum and the power as you go up. All right. So now you've hit an A flat. The next line, you go into your key change and you start on an A natural. You've got A natural to G, both in second, and then to E natural. So you go from a normal second with the A to a sharp second for the G to a flat second for the E. Yeah, that's a lot of little stuff in there. So slowly, see. Trying to get my slide where you can kind of see it. Alright, so you want to make sure you've got the work those little pitch adjustment things out before you start speeding it up. That and if you start now, then you've got time to do that and get all that really good and exact, so the muscle memory starts to kick in as it comes up to audition time. Looking at that second measure, you've got the F sharp and the sharp third, and then back up to F. So all that with decrescendo, which I kind of think nature is going to take its course and it's going to get softer because you'll run out of air. That passage that I just played is on the third line, measure 9 and 10. Here's how I would go about practicing that. I'd start with the last four notes in measure 10, and then the four before that, and then at the beginning of the passage. Okay? So just take it in four note groups. If that's giving you trouble, break it down to 2 notes at a time. Right? And then add 1, add 3. Just break that kind of passage down as you work on the speed. Okay? Going on, third line, back in the original key. Now, it's getting lower, and it says the decrescendo to pianissimo. Okay, again, this is another thing where you're going to need you're going to need the air, you're going to need the intensity to get a good tone on the low E. So I would be concentrating more on tone quality there as we go lower than necessarily, oh, I think I'm going to play this super duper soft. Again, kind of let nature take its course, but focus on a good sound. Perhaps even start that third line a little louder. If we look, or the fourth line a little louder. If we look back at the end of the third line, we've decrescendoed to mezzo piano. So perhaps we start line 4 a little fuller. Instead of trying to really get that super duper soft, and you risk going, and then nothing comes out, and then panic sets in, and everything's bad from there. Okay, the next thing, I'm going to start with the last note on the next to last line. At least I think yes. Yeah. And that's marked fortissimo, so you're going to get louder. This is a little tricky, I think, because you've only got second and third position stuff here. So start on that A. I got a second position note, 2/3, 1 second, 1/3, 2 seconds, 1/3. Yeah, that just will take a little bit going over to get that comfortable. I kind of want to flip around some of those naturals and flats there in the measure 17. That would be another one to go through. Starting at the end of measure 17, working it way back one note at a time, just to develop that muscle memory there. Okay, so that's Samba of the Sun. As I mentioned, the other key thing is that it is Latin, so make sure we're not swinging those eighth notes going back. I mean, you're coming off the triplets, so avoid this. This is going to actually take some thought. Okay, now don't do that. So keep the eighth notes even, and if you think of the triplets sort of as an ornament. Okay, the other one, there we go. Oh yeah, staying cool, which requires a cup mute. Okay, so I've gone back to my arsenal of mutes and found one that I like that works with this horn. And so just for reference, not that you have to rush out and buy one of these, but experiment if you can to get the sound that you want. What I'm using is a Tom Crown. It's a metal cup mute. Fits this horn nicely. What you want with a cup mute is a little bit of distance here. If it sits too far out, it's going to sound like a straight mute, and that's not the same sound. So you want it to be kind of tight in here, but maybe about a finger's width. At least that's kind of the sound that I like, and where I adjust the corks. Adjusting the corks, if it is too far out, just take a nail file or something like that, or sandpaper, and just brush off a little bit until it gets where you want it to fit. But you do need a cup mute on this. It's required. It's not an option. So, and it says, think of Neil Hefti's Cute. So if you don't know that tune, you should look that up. Let's see, here we go. At cup mute marked pianissimo. Okay, don't try to play too softly with this. Go for a good quality, good tone attack at the beginning, and realize that if you've got a mute in and it's marked pianissimo, that you probably need to play airwise mezzo piano, maybe even mezzo forte. Okay, so just play a little airwise, play a little louder than what is marked because you've got the mute in. Okay, so. All right, I'm going to stop because I'm afraid I'll forget a couple of comments. First, the offbeat notes, the things come on the end, like that dotted quarter note there at the beginning, and you'll have a couple more of these elsewhere through the piece. Do give them a little harder articulation on the front end, so da, and then these accents short, okay? D, dot, dot, da, dee, da, okay? Can't do that. We need to hear the distinctness of those accents. Right. And also from years gone by, I remember hearing this played super slow, and don't get it draggy like when the thing is 1, 2, 3, it's 5 lines long. If you play it that speed, it's going to take you about 10 minutes, and guys behind the cardboard are going to get either bored or fall asleep. So, you know, don't get it too draggy tempo-wise. So, yeah, you're thinking Neil Hefty's cute, not Little Darling. All right, there. Yeah, make sure you look both those up. What else? The quarter note triplet thing at the end of the first line. Ba 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Ba 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 bum. Okay? So just watch that rhythmically. Make sure you play things where they need to go. Think if they were all 8 notes. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Bum 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 bum. So that you even those out. And let's see, where did I stop? Oh, into the second line, you might consider a little vibrato there. Vibrato is sort of a personal thing. You probably don't need to do it like I would do it or like anybody else. You've got to kind of see what fits you. So a couple of long notes, things that I think would sound nasty are like no, you want to establish the note if you're going to use it. Establish the note and then a little inflection there toward the end. Okay? So don't just hit it and start it immediately. You'll sound like the little old blue-haired lady in church that, well, you know how she sings, right? Anyway. And on that note that I just played, this first note on the second line, if you're going to use vibrato on the D, go for 4th position. Don't do it in 1st because you'll knock your teeth out. Oh, don't do that. It hurts. So, use the 4th position. Maybe a little thing there at the end. That's all just some stylistic things. I've done a couple of scoops already in here on some things that just, to me, seem like that they belong there. You don't have to do that. It's just an interpretive thing for me. All right, the last couple measures on the second line. And I kind of want a little crescendo or something there. It's not marked, but I think that might give it a little life. Third line going on. Alright, so pitch exactness. You got the F sharp, sharp 3rd, G, sharp 2nd, E, get back out there. And if you can, there's some places like that for natural slurs that always, just helps with things. sounding smoother. So I'd try to go for those if you can. The crescendos, so you're going to have a little more power as you go up. The last 3 or 4 notes there, measure 11, 12, measure 14. I'm going to pull those back. That's, again, sort of an interpretation thing. That is taking things a little bit at a time, but I would kind of play it that way. I'd hope a judge wouldn't count off. Anyway, going on, last measure of the third line. Okay, and both those groups of eighth notes there on measure 17, 18, again, I'm kind of pulling those back. Just a stylistic thing. Okay, so those are kind of pulled back a little bit in sort of that bassy style of playing right behind the beat instead of on it or on the front side. Other thing, it starts out piano. That passage I just played goes to mezzo piano. What is all that? Your dynamics, remember, are relative. There's nobody, at least I hope, sitting back there with a decibel meter going, oh, they've played this, 1.3 decibels louder, therefore that's the difference we need between piano and mezzo piano. I better not find out somebody's doing that. Anyway, so going on, we're back to sort of the theme like it starts. There's a little scoop. I did that at the beginning too. It's not written, just kind of the way, if I were a lead player, that's how I would play it, and hopefully the section would follow me. Okay, so the last third measure from the end, you sustain that whole note, perhaps a little decrescendo there as you go into the pianissimo there on the last 2 measures, with the retard there. The very last note, Dr. John Duke, he was my jazz ensemble director there at MTSU back in the day, and he would refer to this tenor sax sound. He called it the foo-foo tenor, and it was sort of this slightly airy sound. That's kind of what I think of when I get to the end of there. I think of foo-foo tenor sax. And it just kind of fuzzes out a little bit. The other thing is, for me, when I get into the lower register on trombone, and I'm talking like anything that's in the staff, I really don't like to use a lot of slide vibrato. Use a slide vibrato on stuff up high. If I'm going to use it up there, great. But down here, I don't like, just a personal thing. I don't like that. You might, if that's your thing, okay. I kind of like it a little more jaw vibrato there. That enables me to kind of control the air. Just before I shut this off, I do want to play one other little thing just with this. It's marked cut mute. I would just like to go on record saying the mute that if I were in a section and this was like a band piece, big band piece, I would use a bucket. This is a Finch, which they don't make anymore. Another company kind of bought the rights, but these things clip on, and I just personally like this sound better. If I can keep falling off, it's old. I love this sound better. I like that. But anyway, that's not what's marked, so I wouldn't go in with that because that would be totally radical. But there they are. Apologize for my little chip notes and stuff like that. Just kind of taking you through these things from the beginning to the end of them. Showing you things that sort of have jumped out at me as I was going through it. Like, oh, hey, watch this. And then giving you a couple of exercises to maybe get things a little bit better. And that's it. So those are our 2 tenor trombone excerpts for grades 9 through 12, mid-state, and I believe all-state auditions. So, happy tromboning.